I threw a surprise party for my husband's birthday. I invited his whole family, cooked for 12 hours, and made a scrapbook of our best memories. But he never came home. At 3 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number with a picture of him in another woman's lap. It said he already got his present. The next day, I dropped that scrapbook off at his office page by page. I'd replaced every memory with evidence. I'm not usually the type to share my personal business online, but after what happened, I feel like I need to get this off my chest. I'm Megan, 34 years old, born and raised in Denton, Texas. Married my high school sweetheart, Brian, when we were 28. We weren't rich. We weren't fancy. But we had a good life, or at least I thought we did. Brian was my person. At least, that's what I told myself every night when he rolled over and kissed me on the forehead before bed. That's what I believed when I gave up things for him: jobs, dreams, little pieces of myself. His birthday was coming up, 35. A big one. I wanted to go all out even though money was tight. I had this idea. A surprise party. Not just some thrown-together thing either, a real one. I took 2 days off work. I cleaned the whole house from top to bottom. I spent $600 on food, decorations, party favors, and even rented a popcorn machine because Brian loved popcorn like a little kid. But the scrapbook, that was the heart of it all. I spent weeks going through old photos. I raided every closet and drawer. I dug up old ticket stubs from movies we saw on rainy days, little scribbled notes he used to leave on my lunch bags. "You're my sunshine. Can't wait to see you tonight. I love you more than ribs." Every memory felt like a little gold coin I was polishing to give back to him. I poured everything I had into that book. The day of the party, I was up at 5 a.m. I cooked until my back ached and my fingers were raw. I kept checking the clock, excited, thinking about how surprised he'd be. How his face would light up when he saw his dad, his brother, even his aunt who lived 2 towns over. By 6:30 p.m., everything was ready. I texted him, "Hey babe, can't wait to see you. What time are you heading home?" No answer. I brushed it off. Maybe he was busy at work. He'd been doing a lot of overtime lately. Or so he said. By 7 p.m., guests started trickling in. His dad brought that cheap light beer Brian liked. His sister Lisa brought balloons. His best friend Jake brought his new girlfriend, some girl named Tessa who kept smacking her gum and scrolling her phone. Everybody was laughing, catching up, cracking jokes. Man, he's gonna freak when he sees all this. You really went all out, Meg. I smiled and laughed along, but inside, I kept looking at the door. By 7:30 p.m., I started making excuses. Probably traffic, I said. Y'all know how 380 gets this time of night. By 8 p.m., people were getting restless. Kids were whining. The food was getting cold. His sister Lisa kept checking her watch and giving me weird looks. His cousin Mike whispered something to his wife, and they both looked at me with pity in their eyes. I smiled through it all. My cheeks hurt from pretending. At 9 p.m., people started leaving. They mumbled apologies, made excuses about early mornings, kids to put to bed, work meetings. I hugged each of them and said, "Thanks for coming. I'm sure he'll be so sorry he missed you." At 10 p.m., it was just me, and 2 crockpots full of untouched brisket and queso, and the scrapbook, sitting on the coffee table, unopened. I texted again, "Hey, I'm getting worried. Are you okay?" No answer. I called. Straight to voicemail. I sat there in my stupid party dress, mascara smudged, candles burning down to stumps, staring at the door like a damn fool. At 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. It wasn't Brian. It was a number I didn't recognize. The message was short. He already got his present. And a picture. I still see that picture when I close my eyes. Brian. My Brian. His head was in some woman's lap. She was laughing, holding his face like he was her prized dog. His shirt was half unbuttoned. His belt undone. His wedding ring gone. Behind them was the neon sign of the Dusty Spur Bar, a trashy dive 20 minutes from our house. The woman wasn't some stranger either. I recognized her. Ashley, a girl he worked with. The one he swore was just a friend. The one he insisted I was crazy and insecure about when I asked why she was always liking his Instagram posts at 2 a.m. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't even move. Something inside me just died. Something cold and sharp grew in its place. At 7 a.m., I got up. I showered. I put on jeans and a plain t-shirt. No makeup. I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out the scrapbook. Page by page, I tore out every memory. I printed out the texts he'd sent her, the ones I had found months ago but ignored because I trusted him. I printed screenshots of her Facebook, where she had tagged him in a post saying, "Best night ever with my man face-blowing kiss 3 weeks ago." I printed the bar photo. I printed the new ones the Dusty Spurs Facebook had posted, Brian grinding against her on the dance floor while wearing a cowboy hat. Her friends cheering them on. Page by page, I replaced the scrapbook. Instead of first dates and love notes, there were screenshots and betrayal. Instead of our road trip to Galveston, there was a photo of him grabbing Ashley's ass in the bar parking lot. Instead of our wedding photo, there was a screenshot of her Snap story, captioned, "He finally left his ball and chain winking face. I wasn't just showing him the truth. I was building a case." At noon, I drove to his work. I didn't call ahead. I didn't warn him. I wanted to see his face when his lies caught up to him. I walked in through the big glass doors. The receptionist, Janice, looked up at me, startled. She knew. I could tell from the way her eyes widened and she fumbled the phone. I heard her whisper into the receiver, "Brian, you need to come to the front." Now, a minute later, Brian rounded the corner. He looked like hell. Wrinkled shirt, bloodshot eyes, hair sticking up like he'd slept in his truck. He saw me. He smiled weakly. "Meg, I'm so sorry. I didn't say a word." I shoved the scrapbook into his chest. Hard. He caught it. Confused, he flipped it open. Page 1, the bar photo. Page 2, the Snap story. Page 3, the texts. His face turned gray. His hands started trembling. "Meg, please, this isn't." I leaned in close enough for only him to hear. "I hope she was worth it." Then louder, for the whole office to hear. "Congratulations, Brian. You're finally free." I turned on my heel and walked out. Janice's jaw was hanging open. A guy at the copier whistled low. Somebody else clapped, just once, slow and sarcastic. By the time I got to my car, my hands were shaking. I didn't know if I wanted to scream or cry. Instead, I drove. I drove and drove and drove. But deep down, I knew one thing. I wasn't done yet. I didn't go home right away. I drove around Denton, through neighborhoods we used to dream about living in someday. I parked at a gas station on University Drive and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. That's when my phone rang. It was Brian. I didn't pick up. Then came the texts. "Megan, please talk to me. It's not what you think. I didn't mean for this to happen. Come home so we can fix this." Fix this? Fix what? You can't unfuck someone on a bar floor, Brian. I threw my phone into the passenger seat and drove to my sister's house instead. My sister Rachel was the only person who knew everything. She opened the door and took one look at my face and said, "Oh, honey, you're staying here tonight." She didn't even ask. She just pulled me inside, shoved a glass of wine into my hand, and let me fall apart. The next morning, while I was curled up on her couch under a scratchy blanket, Rachel sat next to me and said, "You need to lawyer up." I blinked at her. "I'm not ready to talk about divorce yet." She stared at me hard. "Meg, he wasn't just screwing around. He's been spending your money on her." I shook my head. No, he wouldn't." Rachel pulled up something on her iPad. Bank statements. Our bank statements. I had given Brian full access to our joint account years ago. Trusted him completely. And there it was. $300 at a jewelry store 2 weeks ago. $180 dinner at a steakhouse I'd never been to. $450 charge from some fancy boutique in Dallas. $600 withdrawal, cash. While I was busting my ass planning his party, cooking, making that damn scrapbook, he was taking his little side piece on shopping sprees. I felt like I couldn't breathe. That's when a new plan started forming in my head. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft. And in Texas, when you're married, that kind of thing matters. I spent the next few days gathering everything. Photos, receipts, bank statements, messages. I even went back to the Dusty Spur and sweet-talked the bartender into giving me the security footage from that night. A little cash under the table helped. The footage was gold. Brian wasn't just with Ashley. He was buying shots for her whole friend group. He was kissing her in the booth. He was bragging to the bartender that he was ditching the old ball and chain for someone tighter. The bartender even remembered him. Oh yeah, that guy? Total dish-a-bag. Once I had everything, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Rachel's friend Paula, a shark of a divorce attorney with a reputation for burning cheaters to the ground. I sat in her office, hands trembling, heart racing, and told her everything. When I finished, Paula leaned back in her chair, smiled slowly, and said, "We're going to make him wish he never met you." That weekend, I went back to the house to grab some things. I pulled into the driveway and saw Brian's truck there. My heart dropped. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want tears or begging or promises. I just wanted my stuff and my dogs. I walked in. He was sitting at the kitchen table, the scrapbook spread out in front of him like a crime scene. He looked up at me, eyes red. "Meg, please. Let's talk." I shook my head. "There's nothing to talk about, Brian. I know everything." He stood up, knocking his chair over. "I made a mistake. One mistake. It didn't mean anything." I laughed, an ugly, broken sound. "You spent our money on her, Brian. You planned a whole new life behind my back." He came closer, reaching out like he could just fix this by touching me. I stepped back. The dogs barked nervously at the tension. He dropped his hand, looking lost. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," he whispered. I stared at him. "You didn't think I'd find out." I packed a few bags, clothes, important papers, the dogs, and left. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't slam the door. I wanted the silence to haunt him. But the real revenge was just beginning. Because what Brian didn't know yet was that Ashley. She wasn't exactly loyal either. And she had secrets too. Big ones. Secrets I was about to use to burn both of them to the ground. I didn't hear from Brian for 3 days after I left. Then the texts started again. "Megan, please. I miss you. I made a mistake. Ashley doesn't mean anything to me. Can we please fix this? You're my wife. You're my whole life." I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I was working with Paula, my lawyer, building my case. And I had just found something even juicier than I'd hoped for. See, after a little digging, a lot of digging, Rachel helped, we found out that Ashley, she wasn't some innocent homewrecker. She was married too. Yeah, married. To a guy named Todd. And Todd? He was not someone you wanted to piss off. He worked security at the Denton County Courthouse. Big guy. Buzz cut. Face like a sledgehammer. Rachel found him on Facebook, and I sent him a private message. I didn't send the photos right away. I just said, "Hey, I think we should talk. It's about Ashley." At first he didn't answer. Then, a few hours later, "What about her?" I sent him one photo. Just one. The picture from the Dusty Spur, Brian's head in her lap, her hand resting way too high on his thigh. Todd answered immediately. "Where are you?" "I'm coming. We met at a coffee shop." He showed up wearing his work uniform, fists clenched at his sides. I have thought he might tear the door off the hinges walking in. I slid a folder across the table. Inside, copies of the bar photos, screenshots of Ashley's Snapchat's messages between Brian and Ashley I pulled from Brian's phone backup. Todd flipped through it all without blinking. When he finished, he leaned back and exhaled slow. That bitch. He looked at me, eyes cold. You want revenge? I met his gaze. I want them to pay. He smiled then. A slow, dangerous smile. Good. So do I. Todd told me a lot over the next hour. Turns out Ashley wasn't just cheating with Brian. She had a little side hustle, too. She had been taking money out of their shared account, a lot of it, and blowing it on hotel rooms, spa trips, new clothes. All while telling Todd she was saving for their future baby. She even told him she was pregnant once to get him to buy her a new car. And she wasn't. She was just using him. Todd and I made a plan. A simple, brutal, beautiful plan. It had two parts. Public exposure. We were going to blast Brian and Ashley's dirty laundry in a way they couldn't deny or spin. Financial revenge. Paula would hit Brian with divorce papers packed with proof of financial abuse. Meanwhile, Todd was preparing to file for divorce too, and he had even more dirt on Ashley. We agreed to move fast. Neither of them was going to see it coming. The first step? We picked the day carefully. Ashley's birthday was coming up. She was planning a big party at a nice restaurant downtown, her idea of a classy night, where she could show off Brian to her friends like a trophy. We found out about it because, get this, she posted about it publicly on Facebook. Can't wait to celebrate with my man, 2 hearts, #blessed, #best life. Perfect on the night of Ashley's party. Todd and I rolled up separately to the restaurant. I wore jeans and a plain black t-shirt. No makeup. No jewelry. I wanted to look invisible. Todd showed up in full security uniform, badge, and all. Ashley and Brian were sitting right by the window. We waited until they had appetizers in front of them. Then we walked in. I carried a folder in my hand. Todd carried another one. We didn't say a word. We just walked straight to their table. Ashley's face froze when she saw me. Brian went pale. I dropped my folder onto their table. Todd dropped his. Inside were printed copies of everything. Cheating photos, bank statements showing the stolen money messages, Snapchats, a copy of the lawsuit Todd was filing against Ashley for marital fraud. Ashley grabbed the folder, flipping through it with shaking hands. Brian just sat there, staring at me like he couldn't believe it. The restaurant had gone dead silent. Other diners were watching. Whispers spread like wildfire. Todd leaned down low, close enough for only them to hear. You played the wrong people. I looked at Brian one last time. Happy birthday, Ashley. And then Todd and I walked out, side by side. We didn't look back. But the fallout? Oh, the fallout was just getting started. Brian tried to call me dozens of times. He sent emails, letters, even tried showing up at Rachel's house once. I didn't answer. The divorce papers were served 2 days after Ashley's birthday party. Paula made sure they were brutal. I wasn't just asking for a divorce. I was asking for half of everything: the house, his truck, his 401k. Even the damn dogs. And I had the proof to show he wasted marital assets cheating, which meant under Texas law, I could get more than 50%. He fought at first. Tried to claim it wasn't that serious and that he didn't know what he was doing. The judge didn't care. The judge didn't even hide the disgust when the photos and bank statements came out. Brian lost the house. He lost most of his savings. He even had to pay part of my legal fees. As for Ashley, Todd filed for divorce too. And he pressed criminal charges for fraud and theft. Turns out, all that money she stole from him added up to felony amounts. She tried to claim innocence. She cried in court. Said she didn't know she was hurting anyone. But the receipts spoke louder. By the time it was over, Ashley had no husband, no boyfriend, no savings, and a nice, shiny criminal record. She lost her job too. Word got around town fast. Nobody wanted to hire a thief or a woman known for blowing up 2 marriages and stealing money. Brian moved into a crappy 1-bedroom apartment near the highway. Ashley moved back in with her parents, 2 towns over, and deleted all her social media. The last time I heard anything about them, they weren't even speaking to each other. Brian had tried to win her back after I kicked him out, but Ashley wanted nothing to do with him once the money ran out. And me? I kept the house. I kept the dogs. I even got a better job, thanks to Paula introducing me to some friends in Dallas. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. And the scrapbook? I didn't throw it away. I kept it. Every ugly page. Every photo. Every screenshot. A reminder of how close I came to losing myself for a man who didn't deserve me. A reminder that the people you trust the most can hurt you the worst, but that doesn't mean you have to stay broken. Sometimes, when the night is quiet and the dogs are asleep at my feet, I take the scrapbook down from the shelf and flip through it. I don't cry. I don't get angry. I just smile. Because Brian thought he got away with it. He thought I'd cry and beg and forgive. He thought I'd let it go. Instead, I threw him a party he'd never forget. And I made sure that every time he looks back, he knows I was the best thing he ever had. And he threw it away.